Firstly, I will be describing Toronto and York Region's household waste sorting systems, including the proper usage of the blue, green, and black/gray bins. And I hope to encourage people to embrace achievable waste reduction techniques, such as cutting back on single-use plastics, donating reusable products, and minimizing food waste, and also showing you how to access community waste services and resources. Okay, so this is our agenda for today. So firstly, I'll quickly explain what waste management is. Then you'll learn about the 3-bin system and how to properly sort your waste in the green, blue, and black/gray bins. Then we'll talk about some waste reduction strategies, so what you can do to reduce your waste. And then I'll show you some community waste services and resources that you can access on your own time. Okay, so before we get started, obviously we need to know what waste management is. So what it is, it's basically how you manage your waste, and this means it's the process of collecting, treating, recycling, and disposing of different waste materials. Whether it's garbage, recycling, or composting, it's known as managing waste or waste management. So now it's important to know that Toronto and York use the 3-bin system. Properly sorting your waste into the right bins can save money, reduce the amount of material going to the landfill, and benefit the environment. So Toronto and York have 3 different colored bins. There is the green bin, known as the compost bin. Then there's the blue bin, known as recycling, and then the black or gray bin, known as garbage. So I know that in York, the bin may be gray, but whether it's black or gray, it's known as the garbage bin. So now that you know about the 3 bins that exist, let's start talking about the first one, which is the green bin, known as the compost bin. So the green bin program helps keep waste out of landfill by collecting and processing organics into material that can be used to create nutrient-rich compost used to feed and nourish soil. So putting food scraps in the green bin also means they can be used to create renewable natural gas that the city can use to help power its vehicles and heat its buildings. So when you toss food scraps in the garbage, so food that you didn't finish, they go to landfill and create harmful greenhouse gases, warming the earth even more. So it's really important to manage your waste correctly and put things where they're supposed to go. Okay, so here I want to tell you guys some green bin tips that you can learn about and use going forward if you don't know right now. So firstly, all food waste, whether it's fresh, frozen, dried, prepared, cooked, or spoiled, can be placed in the green bin. So this can be something like a banana peel or a simple food that just wasn't finished. Next, you want to line your green bin with any plastic bag. It could be a grocery bag or a milk bag, as long as it's plastic. And make sure you twist or loosely tie the plastic bag, ensuring that there's no twist ties, stickers, and elastic bands. And then make sure to take food items out of their plastic bags or wrap. And another useful tip is if you'd like to prevent odors, you can wash your green bin frequently with dish soap and some water. And also consider storing organic waste in your freezer or fridge to reduce odors and flies, especially in the summer months. And lastly, if you are in need for any new, additional, or replacement green bins for your house, you can contact 311, just call them, and you'll be able to get an extra bin if needed. Okay, so now this is going to be a list of items that can be accepted in the green bin. So firstly, we have all food waste, which can go in here. And that includes vegetable scraps and peels, corn cobs, fruit cores, pits, peels, meat, fish, pasta, dairy products, desserts, and etc. And then secondly, some other non-food things include paper napkins, paper towels, tissues, coffee grounds, tea bags, food soiled paper plates, and takeout containers, food soiled pizza boxes, pet waste, diapers, and feminine products, and etc. And you can find all of these items listed on the City of Toronto website where it tells you what bins take what and also what it doesn't take. So it's very helpful in case you want to know where I got all this information from. Okay, so now let's talk about what doesn't go in the green bin. So two main things don't go in there, and that is recycling and garbage, since as you know, those have their own bins. But you might be wondering, what's recycling considered and what's garbage considered? So I'll be diving deeper in the next couple of slides, but simply put, recycling can mean any plastic bags that are soft and stretchy, plastic food containers that are rinsed containing no food, aluminum pie plates, trays, roasting pans, and foam trays. And then for garbage, that includes compostable plastic and plastic-lined cups or plates, wax and parchment paper, foil wrap, plastic food wrap, pouches and bags, tea bag wrappers, chopsticks, cotton balls, swabs, and many more. And once again, the items listed here are just a portion of what's considered garbage, which we'll be talking about later on. Okay, so now I have a poll question for you guys, and that is, which bin does this greasy pizza box go in? So if you were paying attention to my previous slides, you should know where this item would go. So I'm going to launch another poll for this one, and I want to see what you guys think about this one. So where does this greasy pizza box go? Does it go in the green bin, blue bin, or garbage? And if you don't know, that's okay. You can also just take a guess. We'll be going over it as well. Okay. So we have a little bit of split answers here. Okay. So most of you actually thought that this goes in the garbage. So let's see if you're correct. So the answer is it goes in the green bin. And if you didn't know this, that's okay. But the reason it goes in the green bin and not the recycling, like some may think, is because it's a food soiled item with grease. So now if it had zero grease, it could go in the recycling because cardboard usually goes in the recycling. And because it had grease, it goes in the green bin known as composting. All right, so now let's talk about the blue bin and what goes in there. So firstly, the blue bin is called the recycling bin, and recycling helps to conserve natural resources, and it helps keep waste out of landfill and reduce energy use and greenhouse gas emissions. So it's really important that you recycle the right way. All right. So now I'm going to be showing you guys some blue bin tips that you can use and remember. So number one, remember to put your recyclables out loose if possible, and if not, put them in a clear plastic bag only. So you can't use any white bags or any other colored kind of bags. They have to be clear so that you can see what's inside of them. So here's an image of what a clear bag looks like that you can see inside. Next, It's important to prepare your containers in 3 easy steps when you're recycling. So number 1 is to empty food, liquids, or other contents and rinse to remove any residue, and then place the lid or cap back on. So that includes if there's any sprayers and pumps involved. And then if you have any black or compostable plastic, so let's say black food containers, bags, or cutlery, they go in the garbage, not the blue bin. And we'll talk about why this is the case, but basically make sure that your recycling is clean. So clean your items and throw any food or drinks away because you don't want to be putting any dirty items in there. And another useful thing to know is to separate your plastic bags or overwrap from newspapers, flyers, magazines, water or soft drink cases, and recycle it separately. And then if you have any shredded paper, meaning ripped up paper, make sure you put that in a clear plastic bag. And if you have any pieces of paper that are the size of a business card or smaller, you can put it in an envelope or add that to the clear bag of shredded paper if you had that. And also, if you have any foam pieces smaller than 10 centimeters, you can put that in the garbage. All right, so now let's talk about the items that go in the recycling bin. So there is a very large list that you once again can find on the City of Toronto website, but I did try to list here almost all of them. So firstly, it's glass. So any bottles or jars with lids on, and then any rigid plastic, so anything hard such as food jars, tubs with lids on, or disposable plastic cups, any clear food containers or clamshells. So for example, the containers that come from, let's say, strawberries or vegetables or mixed greens. Then disposable plastic cups, beverage bottles, salad dressing bottles, detergent, soap, shampoo bottles. These are all considered recycling. And then we have soft, stretchy plastics. So this includes grocery or retail shopping bags, produce or bulk food bags, bread bags that are non-foil, milk bags, so the outer bag, and making sure that the inner pouches are rinsed. Sandwich bags, this includes resealable ones, frozen fruit or vegetable bags, and then overwrap. So the overwrap from, let's say, toilet paper, paper towels, or napkins. And then newspaper, flyer, or magazine bags. And then dry cleaning bags, diaper, feminine hygiene outer bags, and also garden soil, manure, compost, road salt bags. And once again, make sure to remove any of the products before you recycle them. And then we have metal. So this includes aluminum or steel food and beverage cans, aluminum trays, pie plates, cookie tins, paint cans, aerosol cans, making sure they're all empty. And then we have paper. So this includes bags, advertising mail, envelopes, newspapers, flyers, magazines, gift wrap, tissue paper, cards, and also soft or hard cover books. Those also go in recycling. And then next we have is paper containers. So this includes cartons and boxes that, let's say, come from juice, milk, or soup. And then spiral wound cans, so for example, from chips, nuts, or frozen juice. And then we have cardboard, so this includes box board that comes from, let's say, cereal or tissue boxes or detergent boxes or shoe boxes. And make sure that you're removing the liners from them if there's a liner, let's say, in cereal, and flatten any cardboard out. And then we have corrugated cardboard, so this means cardboard that is flattened, unwaxed, and pizza boxes have to be empty, like I mentioned before, and remove overwrap from water or soft drink cases and recycle them separately. And then any rolls. So for example, toilet paper rolls or paper towel rolls. And then foam polystyrene is the last one. So any foam food and protective packaging. So for example, foam could be from egg cartons. When you buy eggs, that material is foam. Or let's say takeout containers, that's foam. Or even whenever um, you you have protective packaging that comes from shipment. So let's say electronics, all that material inside goes in the recycling. And once again, it's very, very important that you empty out any food or drink material in there and rinse it. And if not, then you can place it in the garbage. Okay, so now let's talk about what doesn't go in the blue bin. So firstly, we have medical, home health care, and personal protective equipment waste. And this includes needles, gloves, and masks. And then any household hazardous waste like batteries, paint, cooking oil, which we will talk about more in another slide. And then plastic packaging that includes any black items, bubble wrap, pet food bags, liner bags from, let's say, cereal that I talked about before, then any other plastic such as straws, toys, clothes hangers, and then glass. So any drinking glasses, dishes, cups, light bulbs, and then any material, any metal in terms of, let's say, if it's tools, auto parts, electronics, and then aluminum. So any foil food wrap, chip bags, and then any textiles. So this means clothing, shoes. These don't belong here. And then any paper products, so for example, napkins, tissues, frozen food boxes, these don't go in here either. And lastly, some other items include ropes, wood, hoses, cables, and etc. So now I know this might be a little bit confusing for a lot since it's very specific, and it's okay if you can't follow through with everything because the most important is to at least try. But the way I like to also figure out if certain plastic is recycling or not is basically seeing if it stretches like a grocery bag. If it does, it's usually recyclable in Toronto. But if it crinkles, if it's shiny or tears like paper or foil, like let's say a granola bar wrapper, it's garbage. Okay, we'll talk about this later on as well. Okay, so here I have a little scenario here, and I want to see what you guys think about this as well. So John uses a white plastic bag to put his recycling in. Is he correct? So once again, I did talk about this, but if you don't remember, that's also okay. I'm going to launch a poll again, and I'll see what you guys think about this one. Okay, so it should be launched right now. Okay, so a lot of you said no, and that's great because you're correct. So the answer is no, he is not correct. And this is because recycling is only accepted in clear bags. So if you have a white, brown, or black bag, the pickup trucks won't take it because they need to see what is inside your recycling bag. Okay, so now let's talk about some common recycling mistakes that people make. So number one is throwing food and organic waste in the blue bin. This is wrong. So food scraps like apple cores, eggshells, or expired leftovers belong in your green bin. And when you mistakenly toss food scraps in your blue bin, Food residue and particles get soaked up by paper and they can ruin large batches of otherwise good recyclables. Okay. And then the next common mistake is throwing containers with leftover food in the blue bin. This is also wrong. So please empty and rinse food containers before tossing them in the blue bin. Because again, if you don't do this, items like, let's say, jars and takeout containers, they again get soaked up by paper and they also ruin good recyclables. And again, any food scraps, they go in the green bin. And then the third common mistake people make is putting clothes and textiles in the recycling. So old clothes, shoes, blankets, and curtains, they don't belong in the blue bin because they can get caught in sorting machines and they damage equipment and even cause workplace injuries at the recycling facilities. So instead, what you can do is donate items that are in good condition to not-for-profit agencies, or you can drop them off for reuse at community environment days. And if your items can't be donated, you can always put them in the garbage. Now, some other common mistakes is throwing black plastic in the blue bin. So if you didn't know this, that's okay. Any kind of black plastic, whether it's takeout containers or black garbage bags or cutlery, like let's say forks and knives, that are black, they're not accepted in the city's recycling program. And there are two main reasons for this. So firstly, there just isn't a stable market for the volume of black plastic generated in Toronto. And also black plastic can't be sorted mechanically at the facilities because the optical sorting technology cannot recognize it. So if you have any black plastic, just make sure that you throw it in the garbage instead. The next common mistake is throwing coffee pods in the blue bin. So the city does not accept coffee pods in its recycling program, as coffee grounds are often left within them, which can ruin other items in the bin, such as paper and cardboard, making them no longer recyclable. And all coffee pods, including those that are labeled or marketed as recyclable, they have to be thrown in the garbage. And the last common mistake people make is throwing compostable and biodegradable items in the blue bin. So the city does not accept items marketed or labeled as compostable or biodegradable in its blue bin recycling program. And this can include things that are labeled under, let's say, coffee pods, like I mentioned, or even coffee cups, bags, or cutlery. They still go in the garbage. Okay, so here we have another poll question, and that is, which bin do these plastic straws go in? So again, I did mention this before, so I'm curious what you guys think about this one. Um, I'll launch another poll, and then we'll go over it together. So which bin do these plastic straws go in? Right. So we got a lot of people saying it goes in the garbage. Okay. We got a few saying it goes in the blue bin. So let's see who's correct. All right, so the answer is they go in the garbage bin. And this is because plastic straws are too small to sort in recycling machines. But if it's paper, it can go in the green bin. This is because paper straws get wet and food soiled, which makes them unsuitable for the blue bin. But any plastic straws, they're just too small for the recycling. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the last bin, known as the black/gray bin, where the garbage goes in. So, in simple terms, the black bin or gray bin in York is used for items that cannot be recycled or composted. It's items that cannot be reused and end in the landfill. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about what goes in the black bin. So, firstly, we have things like cleaning wipes, masks, plastic gloves, baby wipes, liner bags that come from, like I mentioned before, cereal or even crackers. It's that um, waxy sort of material. And then we have black plastic food containers or lids, plastic bubble wrap, laminated plastic film, so like the stand-up pouches, um, dryer and disposable mop sheets, dental floss, foil wrappers, and then straws, popsicle sticks, pet hair, um, gum packages, dishes, broken mugs. That's a common one. Broken mugs go in the black bin. Wooden fruit crates, and also things like metallic gift wrap. All right, so here we have another poll question, and that is, which bin does this black plastic container go in? Okay, so I did talk about this. So let's see what we all think where this goes. Okay, so the poll should be launched up right now. Where does this black plastic container go in? Okay, so it looks like all of you got it right, and it does go in the black bin. So that's awesome. And once again, that is because black plastic can't be sorted mechanically at the recycling facility since the optical sorting technology just can't recognize it. Um, yeah, good job, guys. Okay, so now let's talk about what happens if you have extra garbage, recycling, or organics. So, firstly, excess garbage beyond what fits in your bin with the lid closed must be bagged, tagged, and set out beside your garbage bin. So, if you didn't know this, if you have extra garbage, you do need to get garbage tags, and these are available for purchase either online or at Canadian Tire locations. You can use a regular garbage bag for excess garbage and ensure that the garbage tag is attached to the bag and it's clearly visible. Um, and any excess garbage and oversized items are different, meaning the city will pick those items up on your garbage collection day separately from your garbage. Now, moving on to excess recycling, this means any um, extra recycling that you may have. This needs to be put out in a large clear bag and placed beside the blue bin. So you have to also ensure that um, the bags can fit in the recycling. And again, if not, you place it 0.5 meters apart. So I'll have an image that also shows that everything that's any sort of bin that's placed outside has to be 0.5 meters apart. Okay. And recycling that is placed in black bags or bags that are not clear will just be considered garbage since, like I mentioned, they won't consider it recycling. And if you have any extra cardboard, make sure that you cut it into small pieces and you flatten it or you have to bundle it with string or twine. So here in this image on the left, it basically shows the perfect set out. Cardboard is wrapped with twine, and the recycling is clear, so you can see what's in there, and it's placed 0.5 meters apart from the recycling bin. Okay. And if you do have, again, excess recycling, you can always upsize your recycling bin or get another one. Now, in terms of organics, so excess organics are less of an issue because there's the new green bin as it holds 100 liters of material. But if you still find that you're having organics that are beyond what fits in your bin, you can always again request for an additional bin. So here I have a picture where it shows side by side what goes in each of the bins, just so you can see a better overview right in front of you. Since I know, again, it might be confusing for a lot of people to learn all these things, especially if it's your first time learning. So I think this would be a good image that you can go back to and just have a little bit of an understanding right in front of you like this. Okay, so another important note. So if you are in the York region, so let's say if you're from Markham, it's important to note that the York region specifically doesn't collect recycling or garbage from your home or building. If you do have questions about your waste pickup or schedule, you instead contact your local city or town. So for example, if you're from Markham, since Markham is part of York region, you'd instead be contacting the city of Markham, which you can simply search City of Markham and you'll see their website, since that's who's responsible for picking up your waste. And all the cities like Markham, Vaughan, Newmarket, that are part of York region, they have their own websites and collection details. So here on the slides, I have included a link for you to be able to gather your city's specific information. Okay, so now that you are fully aware of what goes in these three bins, I have one more scenario here for you guys. So Lisa finishes her coffee and puts her paper coffee cup in the blue bin and black plastic lid into the garbage bin. Is she correct? So I'm going to be launching one last poll for this one, and I want to see what you all think about this one as well. Okay. So is Lisa correct? What do we think? Okay. So most of you said yes, she's correct. And let's see if you are right. Are you right? Yes, you are right. So she is correct. And if you didn't get this right, it's okay. This is because, like we talked about before, paper goes into the recycling while any black plastic goes in the garbage. Okay. All right. So now, what do you do if you have big, oversized, and metal items? Let's say you have like you have a mattress, you have bikes, what do you do with it? So the city picks up any oversized materials, like I mentioned, so furniture, lamps, luggage, mattresses, patio furnitures, even toilets, appliances, bicycles, anything oversized, basically. Um, and you place all these items next to your garbage for pickup, while once again ensuring that 0.5 meter distance is there. So here at the bottom, I've included an image of what this looks like. So everything that you place out, whether it's your green bin, black bin, maybe you have yard waste that we'll be talking about after, you place it 0.5 meters apart. Okay. Um, and also if there's any refrigerators that you have or ovens or other appliances, make sure you remove the doors from them. That's off of them. Um, okay, and then if you have any furniture or mattresses, let's say that are infested with any bed bugs, you want to wrap them completely in plastic and set them out on your scheduled collection day. And if you have any large, heavy items, for example, a cabinet, remove any shelvings off of them. And if you have any carpets, make sure you roll, cut, and tie carpeting into bundles. And bundles should not be longer than 4 feet, and they shouldn't weigh more than 20 kilograms, so about 44 pounds. Um, and if you have, let's say, artificial Christmas trees, you have to make sure that they're free of bags, ornaments, skirts, stands, and you want to place them next to your garbage bin for pickup, ensuring that there's no snow or ice on them. And once again, there is more detailed information about all of this on the City of Toronto website, but because there is so much information, I won't be able to verbalize everything. So again, I highly recommend checking that website out for extra details. So now let's move on to household hazardous waste items, or HHW items. So everyone in their home right now has a household hazardous waste, and it's important to know how to dispose of them correctly. So household hazardous waste is toxic, flammable, corrosive, poisonous, or explosive, and they must never be put in the garbage, blue bin, green bin, or even poured down the drain, toilet, or sewer. So these items require special handling because if not, it can harm workers and even cause fires in the collection trucks. So it's important that you know what to do with these items. Now, if you do have these items, what you do is you can either call 311, where you'll get a toxic taxi come and pick up your items. So I'll be talking about this later on. Or you can take them to your nearest drop-off depot location or community environment days, which I will give you more detail about as well. But I have attached here the link to the schedule for community environment days so that you can access it. Okay, so now we have to know what items are considered household hazardous waste. So these items include car and garage products, personal care products, household cleaning products, lights, pesticides and garden products, paints, cooking oil, which is a very important one. Cooking oil is considered household hazardous waste. Um, Aerosol, batteries, gas tanks, right? These are all HHW items. Now, what do we do with these items? How do you dispose of them exactly? So, especially if you don't need them anymore. So, whenever possible, please return products in their original containers, properly sealed, and any liquid materials must be in a sealed, non-leaking container. So, for example, if you have any paints, they must have a lid. And any containers must also be clearly labeled with their contents. And don't mix different products together in one container. Just keep them separate. And lastly, don't leave products in your car for a long period of time, especially in the hot weather, because it might explode, you never know. So don't keep them in your car for a long period of time. Okay, so now let's talk about two other important household hazardous waste items. This is batteries and also electronic waste, or known as e-waste. So e-waste can become hazardous, so it's important to know what to do with it. So if you have batteries, they can either get dropped off at the drop-off depot, which I will show you the locations at the end of the workshop, or the environment day, or you can call 311 to get the toxic taxi. So like I said, I'll be explaining this later on. But before your batteries are either picked up or dropped off, they have to be stored correctly. So used batteries must be placed in their original packaging or placed in a clear plastic bag. So if you have multiple batteries, you can wrap them together, or you could cover the positive sign of the battery with clear packing tape, duct, or electrical tape. Okay. Now, there's also electronic waste known as e-waste. So electronics can also be considered hazardous, and they should never be put in the blue bin or the garbage. So the City of Toronto collects unwanted electronics for free to ensure that they are disposed of safely, recycled, and kept out of landfill. Electronic items can be put out on garbage day for pickup, or you can bring it to a drop-off depot location or a community environment day, or you can even donate it for reuse if they're still in somewhat of a good condition. And if you live in an apartment or a condo, let's say, you can always ask your superintendent or your property manager about this, and they'll let you know where your designated drop-off area is. Okay, so now in order for you to know what is considered as e-waste, it's important to know the definition of e-waste. So e-waste is information technology, telecommunications, and audiovisual equipment that have the primary purpose of collecting, storing, processing, presenting, or communicating information, including sounds and images, recording or reproducing sounds and images, and any batteries supplied with the equipment are also accepted as e-waste. So here's a little image, a couple of images that are considered e-waste. Okay, so now, what are the exact items that are accepted as e-waste? So there, again, is a very, very long list, a specific list where it tells you the exact devices, but for the sake of length and time, I can't list them all here. So once again, I recommend checking out the City of Toronto website. But firstly, we have display devices. So for example, televisions, okay? And then we have telephones and accessories. So this could be cell phones, headsets, corded phones, and then we have computers and accessories. So this could be desktop computers, keyboards, mice, cables, webcams, USB sticks, and then printing, copying, and scanning equipment. So this could include printers, scanners, photocopiers, and then we have stationary and portable audio-video systems. This includes radios, speakers, microphones, headphones, even video game consoles. Okay, and then we have musical instruments and equipment. So this means any musical instruments designed to be used with an electrical charge. So this could be with a cord, battery, or even both. So like a digital piano would be considered e-waste. And then some other things include cameras, calculators, smart glasses, smart watches, GPS. Okay, and remember one thing, just because an item has an electrical cord does not mean it's considered electronic waste. It does need to be able to meet that definition, like I mentioned before. Okay, so now let's talk about items that are not accepted as e-waste. So these include, but aren't limited to, let's say, appliances. So this includes fridges, freezers, microwave ovens, coffee makers, blenders, and then we have vacuum cleaners, and then we have air conditioners or fans, power tools, children's toys, textiles, so clothing, furniture, okay? And then we also have string lights or light bulbs, batteries, unless, again, if it's supplied with the actual electronic equipment, and then remote controls, or VHS tapes, CDs, DVDs, cassettes, they're not accepted as e-waste. Now, this is some important information if you live in a house. So once again, you can set out your electronic items on garbage collection day, 0.5 meters away from your garbage bin. And any large electronic items, you have, so let's say computer monitors or televisions, you can put it on the ground, but try to avoid leaving them out in bad weather, okay? And any small electronic items, so for example, cell phones, you can put those in a clear plastic bag or in an open cardboard box, okay? Electronic items will be collected by a different truck after your garbage has been picked up, okay? Okay, so this is the interesting part here. So, if you didn't know, we have something called the toxic taxi, like we talked about before. So this is for if you have any household hazardous waste. What you can do is you can call 311 and you can get the toxic taxi to come to your place. So this is a service only available to the city's residential waste customers. Um, for pickup from, let's say, if you live in a building or a condo, you can always ask like a superintendent again to schedule your appointment. But you do need a minimum of either 10 liters or kilograms and a maximum of 50 liters or kilograms per pickup. And this amount is based on the volume indicated on the containers, not on the estimated fullness of the containers. Okay. And again, you can either contact 311 to make your appointment, or you can complete an online service request. And I'll have a resource document where you can access all the sources and resources that I will be talking about today and have talked about. Okay. Okay, so now, if you're getting your items picked up by your toxic taxi, you have to set it up correctly. So firstly, any liquid materials must be in a sealed, non-leaking container. So again, paint cans have to have a lid. Different material types need to be kept separate, okay? So for example, batteries, paints, and light bulbs should never be mixed in one container. If you have items, they have to be placed in an open-topped container. So for example, a cardboard box, like here, it shows on the left, the image. It's in an open cardboard box, and they're all covered with lids on them, okay? And they shouldn't be in a bag, okay? They need to be in an open-topped container. Now, any fluorescent tubes, so this is what a fluorescent tube is right here, basically. They have to be set out in the original box or bundled or taped together in groups of 8. And items in containers must be placed on private property in front of the residence address side by 7 a.m. on the scheduled pickup day. Okay, now let's talk about yard waste. So where does yard waste go in? So the city picks up yard waste every other week on garbage collection day from approximately mid-March to mid-December, as well as Christmas trees in January. So you can check your collection schedule to confirm collection dates, but your yard waste can also be taken to one of the city's drop-off depots that are year-round. Okay. And yard waste that is collected is also turned into compost, so some of which is offered to the public for free at community environment days. Okay. And another interesting thing I want to let you all know is if you have any leaves that have fallen on your lawn and garden, you can keep it just on your lawn until spring. And this is because native pollinators or species in Toronto, they need plant litter such as fallen leaves or even dead hollow stems, to nest and survive in the cold winter months. So if you have any leaves that have fallen on your lawn, you can try to keep it on your lawn if possible. Okay. So now that you know a little bit about yard waste, let's talk about what is considered as yard waste. So yard waste includes things like leaves, small tree branches, trunks, stumps, mulch, or things like weeds and brush, pumpkins, corn stalks, Christmas trees, okay? And there are 3 things that are not accepted as yard waste. meaning they can't go in the green bin, garbage, or recycling. And these three things are grass clippings, sod, or soil. So what I recommend you do if you have grass clippings is leave them on your lawn or put them in a composter to help build healthy, nutrient-rich soil. But if you still want to dispose of the above items, you can always contact a private company as well. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about how to set out your yard waste. So now you all know that the distance between waste containers must be 0.5 meters away from your garbage bin. And most importantly, you have to make sure that you place your yard waste in craft paper yard waste bags or rigid open top containers. So as you can tell, the images right here, they show the kind of material that it should be in. So they should be in this kind of these craft paper bags or in an open top container like this green bin right here. Okay. If you have yard waste set out in plastic bags or cardboard boxes, they won't be collected. Okay. Now, if you receive daytime collection, you have to set out your yard waste no later than 7 a.m. and no earlier than 8 p.m. the night before your collection date. And if you receive nighttime collection, you set out yard waste between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. on your collection date. And you have to store yard waste on your own property, not on the city property, and ensure, again, any Christmas trees are placed next to your garbage bin for pickup, okay? I have included a link right here where you can get more information that I just talked about here. You can access it on this link over here. Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about some services. There are apps that can, or even websites that can provide you with knowledge regarding waste. So firstly, there is the Waste Wizard website that is a search tool to know what waste goes where. So for example, if you don't know where your fridge goes, you can search it in the tool and it tells you where it goes and what it can do. So it's very helpful if you're just learning of these things and aren't too familiar with the 3-bin system, okay? So I'll quickly show you now what this website looks like, okay? I think it's pretty cool. So this right here is what the website looks like. It's called Waste Wizard. And you basically search up whatever it is you're looking for. So for example, if you don't know where paper towel goes, you search up paper towel and then you scroll down and it tells you right here where it goes. It goes in the green bin, okay? Or let's say if you want to know where the roll of your paper towel goes, the roll goes in the recycling because it's cardboard material, paper material. So I think it's very interesting if you're just learning about these things. Okay. Okay. So next, what we have is the TO Waste app. So this is a mobile app that provides access to Waste Wizard also, but it can also give you the collection schedules and the drop-off depot locations. So they are both really great if you're overall confused on the waste management overall. So yeah, they're really both great systems if you're just wanting to learn a little bit more about how to manage your waste. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the ways that we can reduce our waste. So there are multiple different ways that we can do this. So firstly is to reduce your single-use items. So single-use items, like the word says, are just items that can be used only once and then thrown away. Single-use items include eating utensils, so forks, knives, or even items like straws, napkins, stir sticks, or condiment packets. For a more sustainable solution, you can instead bring your own reusable containers like travel mugs, or you can even carry your own fork and spoon with you, and even a reusable straw in your bag or purse, just as a better alternative. Um, and you can also bring your own takeout containers when dining out, just in case you have leftovers, and even bring your own reusable bags if you're interested. Okay. And another thing you can do to reduce your waste is to refuse single-use items again. So instead, say no thanks when they are offered and only accept single-use items if you really need them. And also try to avoid produce and other items wrapped in too much packaging. Okay. So something else that can be done to help reduce waste is to borrow, share, rent, or swap. So you can try considering borrowing or sharing less frequently used items, such as tools, party supplies, even board games, toys, or even certain things like ladders. You can share them with neighbors, while clothing can be rented for special events. And another interesting fact is you can attend a swap, whether virtual or in person, or you can organize a swap with friends or neighbors, which you can easily do also by searching up swap events in your area. Okay. And some other things that can be done to reduce your waste is to donate items. So try to give things like clothing, books, toys a new life by donating them. So you can easily find nonprofit organizations where you can donate clothing and other items. Okay. And something else I also encourage you all to try to do is to reduce your clothing and other textile waste. This is because oftentimes people buy more clothes than they need and they end up getting thrown in the garbage after. And this just releases greenhouse gases, contributing to climate change even more. So by reusing or repurposing clothing, it extends its life. Now, some ways that you can shrink your clothing footprint is by A, shopping consciously. So buy only what you need and look for clothes that are higher in quality if possible, and that will last longer. Then B, bring unwanted clothing back to retailers who have take-back programs. C, buy secondhand. So things like thrift stores and garage sales are great places to find clothing that is new to you. And like I mentioned before, borrow, share, or swap clothing instead of buying new, or rent clothing for a special event or other one-time uses. And lastly, try to repair your clothing to extend its life. So the city has a number of sewing repair hubs across Toronto in which you can take in clothes that, let's say, have holes in there or a zipper came off your jacket, in which you can find places that can help repair your clothes. Okay. And here I have included a link where you can find nonprofit organizations in your specific area. Okay, and here I have a chart where it shows a list of disposable items versus sustainable solutions in case you wanted to see a visual of what you can do that can help benefit the environment. So, for example, instead of using, let's say, this disposable coffee cup, you can, and again, disposable means like you throw it away after one use. Instead, what you can do is get a reusable travel coffee mug so that you can use it every time you go out. Okay, so this is a chart I recommend coming back to after the workshop to see if there's anything you can try here yourself if you aren't. Again, I know it's challenging, but even if you can just do one thing to help benefit the environment, that's already something good. Okay, and lastly, we're going to be talking about the circular economy. So the circular economy eliminates waste and pollution and conserves resources. It's a shift from a throwaway to a circular mindset to extend the life cycle of goods, food, and resources through better design and continuous reuse, so nothing goes to waste. In a circular economy, items are kept in use rather than only used once and disposed. So products are basically designed where they can be more durable, reusable, repairable, and recyclable. Okay. Now, when we're talking about the circular economy, there is what's called the 4 Rs that are known as reduce, reuse, recycle, and recover, which is how York and Toronto reduce their waste. So first what we have is reduce. So this means trying to reduce the amount of waste generated. So for example, you can avoid using single-use items like plastic forks, straws, or water bottles. And also try not to buy produce or other products that come in a lot of packaging. The next is reuse. This means using things again instead of throwing them away. So again, a good example could be bringing your own shopping bags when you go to the store, or using a refillable water bottle or coffee mug. And then we have recycle. So recycling means taking materials like clean paper or plastic and putting them in the blue bin so they can be turned into new things. So for example, an old plastic bottle can become part of a new bottle or even clothing or furniture. Okay, it's important for us to recycle things that are recyclable. And lastly, we have is recover. So this step is about getting energy from waste that can't be reused or recycled. And in Toronto, this includes composting your food scraps and yard waste using the grain bin. The city basically turns that waste into compost, which it helps grow new food and provides energy. And like I talked about before, these are all the drop-off depot locations specifically in Toronto. So there are 7 locations where you can dispose of your unwanted items. The locations that are underlined, you can take tires there, up to 10 tires free of charge. And another thing to note, very important, if you are going to these locations, you do need a motor vehicle. So you need like a car or something. You can't just walk in or come in with a bike. And you also might be required to give a $40 minimum deposit before you are allowed to dispose of your material, depending on what it is. So for example, tires are free of charge and some other things are free of charge. So what I recommend you do is bring the money with you in case, or you could always call the location and inquire about this as well. And these are also the 6 locations for York's region for the drop-off depot locations. Okay, there's 6 of them here.